look at the Ten Commandments, we have to understand that they are operating in the ancient world, not our modern world. That means that sometimes our key to understanding them is going to come through understanding something in the ancient world. As an example, with something like Commandment 3, not to take the name of the Lord in vain. We sometimes think in terms of that rules out profanity or something of that sort, or maybe false oaths. And it's not that we shouldn't consider those, but that's not the main area where this commandment operated in the ancient world. In the ancient world, the name was a very powerful thing and a very important thing. They believed that a name connected to the person and that was capable of exercising the power that the person had. Yes, we are talking about the realm of magic to some extent. With magic, we aren't talking about something distinct from religion. Magic and religion were often part and parcel of the same whole in the ancient world. When God said that they shouldn't take his name in vain, he's saying that they should not be using it for their own purposes. That is, they shouldn't be exploiting it or abusing it to carry out their agendas. He gave them something of a trust when he gave them his name. Now, if you want a modern example, if you think that there wouldn't really be power in just a random name, think about your credit card or your Social Security number. We talk about identity theft today. Identity theft is when you use someone else's identification in numbers rather than names. Use someone else's identification for your own advantage and gain. You steal their power, their economic power, by using their numerical identification. We can understand through that example that in the ancient world, when they thought about using God's name wrongly, it was divine identity theft, taking God's name to use it for their own purposes. And in that way, trying to do things that were not God's will and God's plan. Now, this idea, you can see, carries through even to the New Testament. We look at something as familiar as the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. That is, that God's name must be treated carefully. Your kingdom come, not mine. Your will be done, not mine, on earth as it is in heaven. God's name is to be used for his purposes. If a parent were to give their credit card to their son or daughter, that would be an act of trust. And in the same way, God gives us his name as an act of trust. He gives it to us as also a thing of power. And Jesus says then that we ought to pray in his name, and that's powerful to accomplish his plan and what he does through us. So we ought to realize that this is a trust that God has given us. We are not then to use God's name and God's power for our own purposes and our own plans. It's not to be exploited, but to be treated with reverence.